Welcome back to the deep dive. We're here to, cut through the noise and give you the essential insights. And today, wow, we're diving into something truly electrifying, the global EV market. I mean, this isn't just some passing trend anymore, is it? It's a massive shift. We're talking a staggering $10 trillion industry, over 10 million EVs sold just last year alone. The speed of this change is, well, it's accelerating faster than anyone really predicted.
It really is. It's a boom. You just can't ignore it. And yet, what's really fascinating, I think, is how many of the big established automakers are struggling. You know, the legacy giants, as we often call them.
Right.
They seem kind of bogged down by their past investments, maybe slower innovation, and sometimes they're leaning too heavily on outside help. It feels like they're playing catch up with the newer, more agile companies like Tesla or, say, BYD from China. It's a critical moment for them, definitely.
It absolutely is. But here's the twist for today's deep dive. We're zooming in on one of those giants, Stellantis. Now, you might just lump them in with other legacy players trying to adapt, but we're going to unpack why Stellantis might actually be, well, uniquely positioned, not just to survive this EV era, but maybe even gain significant market share.
Interesting angle.
Yeah, we'll look at their strategies, some really interesting new tech they're working on and the recent results, see how they're navigating this incredibly high-stakes race. So, is it setting up for an epic comeback? Or maybe a cautionary tale? To figure that out, I think we first need to look at the really audacious bets they're making, especially on electrification.
Okay, let's start there.
Right. So the Forbes piece we looked at, it highlighted a common criticism, didn't it? That legacy automakers are lagging, especially on things like dedicated EV platforms and really innovative battery tech.
Yeah, that's a fair point for many.
But Stellantis, based on what we've seen, they seem to be making this huge multi-layered commitment. It feels like they're directly tackling those issues. Take their Dear Forward 2030 plan. That's over $50 billion earmarked for electrification over the next decade.
50 billion, that's a serious number.
It is. And these aren't fuzzy goals either. They're aiming for 100% battery electric vehicle BEV sales in Europe and a 50% BEV mix for passenger cars and light trucks in the U.S., all by 2030. That's, well, it's more than just a shift. It's a pretty bold declaration.
It is a significant financial commitment, no doubt about it. And to actually back up those kinds of sales targets, they're securing something like 400 gigawatt hours of battery capacity.
400 gigawatt hours. Can you put that into perspective for us?
Sure. So for you listening, that's roughly enough battery power for around 5 million long-range EVs. It's massive. And this capacity includes support from 6 different battery manufacturing plants spread across North America and Europe.
Okay, so they're building the capacity.
Exactly. It clearly shows they want to control that critical part of the supply chain themselves, not just rely on outside suppliers for everything.
That makes sense. And a key point here, something that really jumped out at me from their strategy, is their approach to next-gen batteries. Can you tell us more about this joint development they have with Zeta Energy? For lithium-sulfur batteries, why is that potentially such a game changer?
Right. Well, the real insight here, I think, is that while a lot of legacy makers are focused on just making small improvements to the lithium-ion tech we already have, Stellantis seems to be making a calculated bet on something potentially disruptive, a next-generation chemistry.
Okay.
This isn't just a minor tweak. This lithium-sulfur tech, it promises battery packs that are significantly lighter but hold the same amount of usable energy.
Lighter packs, same energy.
Yeah.
So that means more range, better handling.
Exactly. Greater range, definitely. And noticeably better handling because the car's lighter. Those are big wins right off the bat.
Huge benefits, yeah. Lighter cars, more range, consumers love that. But I gather the advantages don't stop there.
Not at all. Beyond range and handling, this lithium-sulfur tech also has the potential for, get this, 50% faster charging speeds.
Wow, okay.
And, crucially, the cost. These batteries are expected to cost less than half the price per kilowatt hour compared to current lithium-ion ones. I mean, if they pull this off, it could fundamentally reset the benchmarks for cost, range, and sustainability for the whole EV market by 2030. It could potentially give Stellantis a lead for several years. It directly tackles those big hurdles for EV adoption, charging time, and affordability.
And there's a sustainability angle too, right? That sounded really compelling.
Yes, absolutely. These batteries are set to be produced using waste materials and methane. That means much lower CO2 emissions during production. Plus, and this is really critical given supply chain issues, they don't need materials like cobalt, graphite, manganese, or nickel. That's often problematic.
All right, the ethical sourcing and dependency issues.
Exactly. And they can apparently be made using existing gigafactory technology with a shorter domestic supply chain. That improves resilience, which is huge these days. They're targeting these for Stellantis EVs by 2030. It's a really bold move away from current material dependencies.
So it's clear they're not just, throwing money around or tweaking existing tech. They seem to be actively developing something cutting edge that hits all the main pain points.
Right.
Range, charging, cost.
Yeah, it sounds revolutionary on paper, but look, the real challenge for these big legacy companies is always execution, right? And scale. Do you think Stellantis actually has the operational muscle to deliver on these ambitious tech promises, or could this just be another cool idea that gets stuck in the lab?
That is the critical question, isn't it? And their commitment, it seems, isn't just on paper or in R&D. It's starting to show up in their manufacturing and product strategy. Remember, the Forbes article criticized legacy makers for relying on outsourced, maybe clunky software and
Yeah.
parts. Well, Stellantis is pushing back on that. They're bringing electric drive module EDM production in-house. They're expanding facilities in France and Indiana and adding a new one in Hungary starting late 2026. That's a 103 million Austrian investment just for the Hungary plant.
So these EDMs, they combine the motor, gearbox, inverter.
Exactly, into one efficient unit. And crucially, these are designed specifically for their upcoming BEV-focused platforms,
Yeah.
the STLA platforms. They're also ramping up production of electrified dual-clutch transmissions, EDCTs in Italy, for their hybrid models. It feels like a direct move towards integrated, efficient solutions, giving them more control over performance and, importantly, cost.
It definitely sounds like vertical integration for those core EV parts. More control, good move. And I noticed their new CEO, Antonio Filosa, he's also put in a more streamlined leadership team, apparently giving more autonomy to the regions.
Right.
They've even cut some programs that weren't working, like the hydrogen light commercial vehicles, to focus resources better. That kind of agility, you have to have that in this market and move so fast. Quick decisions are vital.
Can you elaborate a bit on how that regional autonomy helps agility? Is it faster decisions locally or something else?
Well, I think it's really both. And for a giant company like Stellantis, that's a big shift. If you empower the regional teams, they can react much faster to specific market needs, local customer tastes, without waiting for layers of corporate approval back at HQ.
Makes sense. Less bureaucracy.
Exactly. And it lets them allocate resources more efficiently, like you said. Avoid those central bottlenecks that can slow things down. It means building cars for specific markets, not just trying a one-size-fits-all approach everywhere.
Okay, so they're making the key parts themselves, streamlining the organization for speed. But what about the cars, the actual products? The Forbes article specifically called out that product market mismatch, like maybe not having the right EVs for North America, but also maybe missing the boat on compact EVs in Europe where demand is strong. How's Stellantis addressing that with their new models?
Yeah, that's a really important point, especially with the mixed signals we're seeing in the market overall. I mean, look at their first half results for 2025. They were tough. Shipments down 7%, and their adjusted operating income margin, which for you listening is a key measure of core profit, took a hit.
Right. Not great numbers for H1.
No. But the report also pointed to early signs of commercial progress, and importantly, clear levers they can pull to improve things in the second half of the year. And a huge part of that hinges on their product offensive.
Okay, so new cars are key to the turnaround.
Absolutely. And it looks like a smart, two-pronged attack tailored for different regions.
So in Europe, enlarged Europe, they call it Stellantis, is actually already showing market share gains. They hit 17% in the first half of 25. That's up 1.27 percentage points from the second half of 24. So decent momentum.
Okay.
They seem to be navigating the EV transition there pretty effectively. Their BEV mix is up about 2.5 percentage points compared to last year. And get this, they're number one in hybrids and number two in pure BEVs in Europe right now.
Number 2 in BEVs. That's pretty strong.
It is. They've launched new stuff like the Fiat Grande Panda, the Citroën C3 Aircross, the Opel Frontera, and crucially, in the second half of this year, 2025, they're launching 3 brand new models on their STLA medium platform. That's the Citroën C5 Aircross, the GP Compass, and the DS Degree 8. These are designed specifically for Europe's biggest market segments. And they're meant to complement existing EVs, like the Peugeot 3008. This directly tackles that unmet demand for compact EVs in Europe that the Forbes article talked about. It seems very targeted.
That makes a lot of sense for Europe, yeah. Smaller, efficient vehicles are king there. But what about North America, where, bigger vehicles rule and EV adoption has been a bit different? The article mentioned oversized EVs struggling there. How are they tackling that market?
Yeah, that's where their freedom of choice strategy really comes into play. It's quite interesting. In North America, instead of just pushing big, expensive EVs, they're strategically bringing back iconic names, names that have sold millions historically.
Oh, like what?
We're talking the Jeep Cherokee. It's coming back with a new hybrid powertrain. And the Dodge Charger. That's coming back with both traditional gasoline engines and new EV versions, both landing in the second half of 25.
Charger EV, okay. And ICE.
And I see key.
Ah,
And to really hammer home that freedom of choice idea, they're even bringing back a Hemi V8 option for Ram trucks. They say that's because 40% of U.S. truck buyers still won't even consider a brand if it doesn't offer a V8.
wow. Okay, so they're really trying to cover all bases there.
Exactly. It's a dual approach. Capture market share across different buyers while still pushing electrification forward where it makes sense. And there are early signs it might be working. The Ram brand, for instance, is showing some turnaround momentum. Their retail sales were up 25% year over year recently. It feels like a very pragmatic way to electrify without losing their core truck and muscle car buyers.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, that cashew source we looked at also highlighted how Stellantis uses partnerships, like their deal with Leapmotor. That's meant to boost their product offerings and reach in the EV sector, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that ability to collaborate, to leverage partners, that's another strategic tool in their belt. It adds agility and maybe broadens their appeal. It's not just what they do internally.
Right. So, okay, we've seen the deep tech bets like lithium sulfur. We've seen the move to in-house manufacturing for core parts like EDMs. And this very market-specific product offensive. Europe gets compact EVs. North America gets freedom of choice with hybrids, EVs, and even V8s. It's definitely a dual strategy. Push EVs hard, but also keep the profitable gasoline segments going where needed. But what does this all mean for the bottom line? Are these big moves actually starting to translate into financial recovery? Profitability.
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or maybe the billion-dollar question here. And like you said, the first half of 2025 was tough financially. Revenue down, adjusted operating income down. But Stellantis is guiding for improvement sequentially in the second half of 2025. They're aiming for a recovering, low single-digit adjusted operating income margin, and they seem to have clear levers they can pull to get there.
Okay, so what are those levers? How do they plan to boost profits?
Well, a big focus is on efficiency and cost optimization. Pretty standard stuff, but crucial. Things like better inventory discipline, getting dealer stock down. It was down 15% in North America compared to June 24, apparently.
That helps.
Yeah. And optimizing total production costs across the board. Also, ensuring that their new model year 2026 products are all designed from the start to increase profit margins. Margin accretion, they call it.
Building profitability into the new models. Smart.
But what about external pressures, like tariffs? Those can really hurt.
That's a really important point. They estimate about a 1.5 billion net tariff impact for 2025. That's significant. But they seem to be proactively adapting their production to deal with it. They're leveraging things like a 3.75% MSRP credit on vehicles made in the U.S. and working to expand the definition of U.S. content to help mitigate those tariff costs. It shows they're trying to be agile, even with complex trade policies swirling around, protecting profitability.
That's crucial agility in today's world. And are there positive signs on the demand side? Are people ordering these new cars?
It seems so, yeah. The order books for North America and Europe are showing encouraging signs, according to their latest updates. North America's total order book, for example, was apparently up around 90% year over year by the end of June 2025.
90%. Wow.
Yeah, so that indicates growing customer interest in these revitalized product lines, which is exactly what they need as these new models start hitting showrooms.
Okay, so it really sounds like Stellantis is hitting this from all angles. A full court press, almost, deep tech innovation with the batteries, bringing manufacturing in-house, tailoring products very specifically to markets, and focusing hard on operational efficiency and costs. It's definitely not just one single silver bullet they're relying on. It's a really comprehensive, interconnected strategy. They're trying to cover all the bases.
Absolutely. And what I find truly fascinating here is the context. The broader EV market, it's seeing fierce competition. Even some struggles for newer players like BYD had that recent dip in deliveries. But here's Stellantis making these very calculated strategic moves. They seem to have embraced the need for bold design, yes, but also advanced software, getting the price right, learning from rivals, all while using their global scale and those well-known brands they own. That deep dive into lithium sulfur batteries, the big expansion of EDM production, those feel like clear signals of a genuine long-term commitment to EVs. It's not just a quick pivot. It feels more like re-engineering their core business for the future.
Indeed, it really looks like they've grasped that Surviving and actually thriving in this new EV world isn't just about building electric cars. It's about completely rethinking how you build them and who you're building them for. It's going to be incredibly interesting to watch their second half 2025 results to see if these big shifts start showing up clearly on the bottom line. So, for you, the listener, maybe the key takeaway is this. This transition to electric vehicles, it's not just about the flashy new tech companies. The legacy automakers, like Stellantis, they're learning, they're adapting, and they are fighting really hard to redefine their future. It's a journey of evolution, really. And Stellantis offers this compelling, real-time case study. It's much more nuanced than just thinking old versus new. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. If you found this insightful, and we hope you did, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. It's completely free for you, and honestly, it means a lot to us. Helps us keep doing this. Thanks again.